The Gorgon Gas Project is a natural gas project in Western Australia, involving the development of the Greater Gorgon gas fields, subsea gas gathering infrastructure, and a liquefied natural gas plant on Barrow Island. The project also includes a domestic gas component. It is currently under construction and once completed, will become Australia's fourth LNG export development. Location: Greater Gorgon refers to a grouping of several gas fields, including Gorgon, Chandon, Geryon, Orthros, Maenad, Attribution, Urania, Chrysaor, Dionysus, Jancio, and West Trial rocks, situated in the Barrow sub-basin of the Carnarvon Basin. The Gorgon field is centred about 130 km off the northwest coast of Western Australia, where the water depth is approximately 200 metres. Other fields in the group lie to the north, such as Jancio, which covers an area of 2,000 square kilometres, in a water depth of 1,300 metres. Barrow Island lies off the Pilbara coast, 85 km north-northeast of Onlo and 140 km west of Caratha. The largest of a group of islands which include the Monteba Low and Lewendell Islands, it is 25 km long and 10 km wide, covering 235 square kilometres. History: more than 200 exploration wells have been drilled in the Barrow sub-basin over the past 35 years, including West Trial rocks in 1972, and Spar in 1976, both discovered by West Australian Petroleum, which had been a pioneering company in the development of the Western Australian petroleum industry. WAPET was the operator on behalf of various joint ventures comprising Chevron, Texaco, Shell and Amperex. Chevron and Texaco merged in 2001, Mobil took over Amperex, and later merged with Exxon to form ExxonMobil. In 2000, Chevron became the operator of all WAPET's petroleum assets. WAPET discovered Gorgon in 1981 with the drilling of the Gorgon 1 well. Later discoveries included Chrysaor and Dionysus. The Jancio gas accumulation, discovered in January 2000, contains an estimated 566 billion cubic meters of recoverable reserves. The project received preliminary environmental approvals from the West Australian Government in September 2007 and from the Federal Minister for the Environment in the following month. The project developers then submitted revised plans to cover an expansion in the size of the project. Final environmental approval was received from the state government on August 11, 2009. On August 26, 2009, the Federal Environment Minister announced that the expanded project on Barrow Island had been given conditional environmental approval. During the 2007 Australian federal election campaign, the Australian Labor Party announced that a future Labor government would set aside 25% of future petroleum resource rent tax from the Gorgon project to establish a Western Australian infrastructure fund. Gas fields: the Gorgon and Jancio gas fields, 200 kilometers from the coast, are said to contain 35.3 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and may have a lifespan of 60 years. Developers: the project is being developed by the Gorgon joint venture, which consists of Australian subsidiaries of three international energy companies, Chevron Australia, Shell Development Australia, Mobil Australia Resources, Osaka Gas, Tokyo Gas, Shubu Electric Power. Scope: 300 ha of land has been acquired on Barrow Island, 3x5 MTPA LNG trains, 15 million tonnes of LNG per year, 300 terajoules per day domestic gas plant. Groundbreaking occurred on December 1, 2009, first LNG in 2014, production ends between 2054 and €2074, using initially 18 wells. Gas will be delivered via subsea gathering systems and pipelines to the northwest coast of Barrow Island, then via an underground pipeline system to gas treatment and liquefaction facilities on the island's southeast coast. The plant will consist of 3 liquefied natural gas trains, each capable of producing a nominal capacity of 5 million tonnes per annum. Carbon dioxide, which comprises around 15% of the raw gas stream, will be stripped out then injected into formations deep below the island. This forms a very large carbon capture and storage project, with 3.4 to 4 million tonnes of CO2 planned to be stored each year. LNG and condensate: initially stored in onshore tanks, will be offloaded from a 2100 m jetty onto LNG carriers and oil tankers, for delivery to overseas customers. Natural gas for domestic use will be exported by a 70 km subsea pipeline to the mainland, for transmission to local customers. On the total investment of the Gorgon LNG project, media articles have reported analyst forecasts of estimated costs ranging from $11 billion Australian dollars, $16 billion Australian dollars, and $50 billion Australian dollars in March 2009 to $43 billion Australian dollars in September 2009. Chevron, however, mentioned in September 2011 that the foundation phase will cost about $29 billion and consists of 2 LNG processing trains with combined capacity of 8.9 mtpa. Benefits. Economic modeling carried out in 2008 as part of the environmental impact assessment process, forecast the following macroeconomic impacts: 6,000 jobs in Western Australia at the peak of the construction phase, more than 350 direct and indirect jobs sustaining throughout the life of the project, an increase in national gross domestic product of $64.3 billion Australian dollars, $33 billion Australian dollars of expenditure on locally purchased goods and services, additional government revenue of about $40 billion Australian dollars. Gas sales equals LNG export agreements equals LNG sales agreements have been reached between the joint venturers and customers in China, India, Japan and South Korea. Chevron Australia has executed sale and purchase agreements with Osaka Gas, Tokyo Gas, Chubu Electric Power and GS Caltex of South Korea. Chevron Australia also has heads of agreements with Korea Gas Corporation, Nippon Oil Corporation and Kyushu Electric. Shell has entered into long-term LNG sale and purchase agreements with PetroChina International Company Limited and BP Singapore Pte. Limited and also has secured capacity at LNG receiving terminals including the terminals at Energy Costa Azul LNG in Baja California, Mexico and Hazira in Gujarat, India. An Australian subsidiary of ExxonMobil has signed long-term sales and purchase agreements with Petronet LNG Limited of India and PetroChina International Company Limited for the supply of LNG from the Gorgon project. The agreement with Petronet LNG is for the supply of approximately 1.5 mtpa of LNG over a 20-year term, while the agreement with PetroChina is for the supply of approximately 2.25 mtpa over a 20-year term. Together, these two sales and purchase agreements commit the ExxonMobil subsidiary's share of LNG from the 15 mtpa Gorgon LNG project. Domestic gas under the provisions of the Barrow Island Act, the joint venturers are required to reserve 2,000 petajoules of gas for delivery into the domestic market. The Gorgon joint venture announced plans to establish a domestic gas project, including plans for progressive expansion to enable delivery of 300 terajoules of gas per day into the domestic transmission system. Chevron have indicated that deliveries of Gorgon domestic gas will commence around the time of startup of the third LNG train. Criticisms. The proposed project has attracted criticism from conservation groups in relation to the potential impact upon Barrow Island's ecology. The island is a Class A nature reserve, and home to the flatback turtle and numerous other animals not found on the Australian mainland. Other concerns are related to the adequacy of quarantine procedures on Barrow Island to protect against the introduction of non-endemic species, and risks associated with geological sequestration of CO2. It was reported in November 2011 that native animals on Barrow Island had been accidentally killed daily, with a known total of 1550 since construction began. See also, petroleum industry in Western Australia. References. External links. 1. Chevron Australia Barrow Island Project Progress. 2. Barrow Island Act 2003.